couple more people coming. I'm just going to make sure I run through my checklist here. Yes, so this is good. Everything's muted. Everyone's muted. So I don't want like everyone to sort of like disrupt the webinar for everyone else. So I'm just going to mute everyone, but at the end I'll mute, and then we'll have a big Q&A. I'm happy to stay for an extra hour just to help people if they need to. Fathom is running. I'll use Fathom. I don't actually want to give the recording to people. I want to reward the people who actually come today. To me, it's quite important, but I may actually use clips and stuff or transcript to actually help, write the next newsletter or some of the things that actually helped. And yeah, we have a very broad audience today, so I don't really. Some people are actually just starting in cold outreach. Some people have been doing it for a long time, so it's going to be hard. It's always hard to do group calls, but hopefully there will be some elements of interesting things for everyone. We're going to go very deep on some subjects and less deep on others. Like I mentioned, we're going to have a Q&A at the end, and I want to mention 2 disclaimers. The first one is about tools. I'm going to be tools agnostic as much as I can. However, QuickMail do have a few features that are very innovative, and I probably will mention them en passant. But I think that's important for you to know, and I think it'll be a waste of you not knowing. And for the second disclaimer is I only have expertise and experience in some areas and some better than others. So for example, I'm not great when it comes to prospecting, so I'll skip prospecting, even though I'll talk about like list qualifying. So just so you know, I'm not going to talk probably about cold calling because that's not an area in which I'm good or an expert in. So I prefer to not say anything. Unlike some influencers, I speak only about things I know. And then I want you to be present and take notes. Try to pick up like one action that you can. I'll be talking a lot. Like it is going to be a lot to take in. There will be a lot of things, a lot of information. So if you guys can actually pick one thing, just one thing that you will be implementing this week, I think that'll be already like a good thing. And yeah, so if you want also, you don't have to, but if you want also, that's quite nice to turn your camera on. Yeah, I see a few people doing it. So we got Scott, Neil, Steve, Pete, Andy. Thanks guys for turning out. It's always nice to see, a few faces as there you go. I'm just putting you on a second screen. There you go. More people turning their camera on. Yes, thanks Rachel. Thanks Andre. Yeah, all right. Yeah, nice one. Asa. Yeah, cool. You guys doing it. That's brilliant. So I presume the site is working. All right, so agenda for today, we're going to look about ICP. ICP means ideal customer profile, basically who you're trying to sell to, as well as list qualifying. We're going to talk a lot about deliverability. We're going to have some really interesting stats, actually stats that kind of surprised myself as well. So I think it'll be really nice to have a conversation about it. How to build messages in 2025 and how to get replies. I know this is something that a lot of people are struggling with. So I sent a personal message to every one of you. Thanks for everyone who actually replied. There's a lot of things to go through. It's not going to be a silver bullet, but hopefully it will give you some good area of exploration. So basically things to consider for you and things to think of, and hopefully some ideas on how to improve your deliverability and your reply rate. And obviously we're going to have a Q&A. I want to have a big Q&A, although there is a lot of things to go through, but I want to keep a lot of space for Q&A because I think that's really where I want to reward the people who actually attended this webinar, not just like, otherwise I could have done a recording and then send it to everyone. Yeah, well, listening to me. So obviously a lot of people know me already. I asked actually Notion to build up like with the AI, just who is Jeremy Chatelain? And so they just basically built something. So obviously I've been doing it for a long time. I'm the owner and founder of QuickMail for cold email and LinkedIn automation recently. Been doing it since 2014. So a bit more than 10 years now. It'll be 11 years in April. Pretty geeky, very analytic minded. So that's why we're going to see a lot of things about stats. I really love stats. And we've been inventing inbox rotation and lately deliverability AI and reward with AI. And I love that because basically one of my personal goals is how can I impact this industry and leave a mark on it? So I don't want to change the world. I just want to change this industry. And we've been doing it with inbox rotation and helping spreading it as well with AutoWarmer. We'll come back to that. Very quickly how it started. It started at 4 o'clock in the morning. Basically, I had a full-time job and I wanted to do cold outreach. So this is also why I'm passionate about cold outreach. I was trying to reach out to financial planner in Australia. Being in Europe at 4 a.m., there is only Australia that is working. And so I was spending my time sending cold outreach to financial planner in Australia. Tried with LinkedIn initially and been banned after 3 weeks because apparently you are not supposed to outreach people you don't know on LinkedIn. So I did it, been banned after 3 weeks and had to pivot to actually email and realized very quickly that I was spending probably a good 30 minutes, an hour to basically make sure I send email, follow up to whoever I didn't do it and so on. So that's when I actually created QuickMail to automate that. I've been doing a book called Outreach that is still getting sold these days, even for it's pretty outdated. I should do a new updated version. But anyway, 2015 when I published the book, I've been doing for 8 years, I think, a cold outreach podcast. If you don't know about it, we are close to 400 episodes. This is me jamming with my good friend Jack, who is having a cold outreach agency. And so I have the software, he has the agency, and so we basically brainstorm for 30 minutes about a certain topic. Moving on, what's the objective of this call? Because that's quite nice, but this call is not about me. This call is about you. So what's the objective? It's not to be a cat in a casino, but it's actually to be able to put the odds in your favor. I want you to be better than everyone else doing cold outreach. So for that, there is a few things that I'm going to share with you that hopefully will elevate your game of cold outreach. And so you'll be actually, moving the odds in your favor when you're doing cold outreach. That's really my main objective of this call. And if we look at the aggregated data on QuickMail, this is the last 3 months of reply rate across all the campaigns, all the emails being sent. This is per email being sent, but it's still like 0.5% on average reply rate, which is really bad. That means you need to send 200 emails in order to get one reply. If your market is only 10 times bigger, like 2,000 people, for me, the financial planners were 1,800. So if you have like 2,000 people in your market, you're only going to receive like 20 replies. That's really bad. And that means assuming they won't be all positive. They probably will be like 50-50. So you're going to have like, only 10, sorry, you get 10 replies. I get confused with math, but basically it's really bad and it's pretty easy to do better. We have stats as well for LinkedIn, but it's only very recent. We had LinkedIn for a year now, a bit more than a year, but we only added stats really recently, like, a bit in December, but we already see that LinkedIn is outperforming like purely sending emails. So the combination of both is actually working better. So everyone's got like really difficult reply rate, difficulties getting replies. And the answer to that most of the time is what we call raising the floor. Now, raising the floor is building better lists, better personalization, better message, improve value proposition, a stronger CTA, more volume, more channel. It's always like a more or better, but more or better only helps you to raise the floor and basically keep up with the pace of the market. Raising the floor can bring you to 10%. 10% is not bad, don't get me wrong, but that's not really what we're aiming for, right? I'm going to come to that, but last week, this is what I received. Like literally, last week I received this. This is something that you would expect 2018 to receive things like that. It's just like, but I still receive it. So even if you're not reaching the floor, you're still going to have some stuff that are actually just not good practice that are still going to reach out to your inbox. So what we really want is to raise the ceiling. The ceiling is what makes you go from 10% to 20% to 30 to 40%. You can't do that by just raising the floor. Doing more is only raising the floor. So what you need is innovation. We have Reward with AI, for example, which was a really great innovation lately. You have running different campaigns, or campaign differently, choosing different angles, new tactics. That's what is raising the ceiling. And as you raise the ceiling, those things become then part of the floor after a certain while. So We had inbox rotation that was raising the ceiling. Now it's part of the floor, right? You have to have those things in order to get good reply rate. So today I'd like you to think of not just raising the floor, but also raising the ceiling. How can you do things differently that will actually help you getting or breaking to that 10% reply rate? All right. Last thing, here's my guarantee today. I know you guys paid a shit ton of money to join this webinar, but my guarantee is like, if you don't get any information, you think you waste your time, whatever, happy to refund your $1 and even like making like 10 times more. I'm not gonna be broke, so don't hesitate. You know, it's okay if you're not getting some good value. Hopefully you will. So before we go into the meat of data, I want to do a quick brief history of cold email to really see that every year brought their new challenges, and this year is no different. We're also going to have challenges to overcome this year. And part of it will be solved by you and the way you're approaching your cold outreach. Part of it will be done by your tool. Part of it will be impacted by the industry. So here's a brief history. We're going to start in 2013, 2014. This was the golden age of cold email. You could basically send millions of emails. They will all land, no problem whatsoever. People will apologize for not replying to your follow-up. This was such a great time. I wish we were back there, but it's over. The only thing you really have to worry about, an attempt of the US to prevent too many spam, was to actually implement the CAN-SPAN Act, which honestly just needed you to put your real name and your email address, and that was pretty much it. And most of the people didn't do that anyway. So golden age, amazing. Google realized that we were sending some traffic of email were like more toward cold email, and so they created this promotional tab, and that was a big craze. Everyone was landing in promotional tab and then figuring out, how do we not land in promotional tab? These days it's fine. If you send like text email only, most of the time you will end up in the primary inbox. So Google had to figure out like, how do I actually prevent that new traffic being sent? And they realized that actually if you have a lot of bounce rate, then that means that you must be someone who actually sent to people they don't know. And so that's when list verifier like Never Bounce actually been put into the market. So people had to verify their list. I remember at the time where people were sending with 25% bounce rate, and there was absolutely no problem. But these days, it's not possible. You're going to be blocked very quickly. In fact, the tools actually been improving as well lately. So if you have less than 4%, 4% is already on the high end these days. 2017, 2018 came a big thing. It was the GDPR. This was European version of the CAN-SPAN, preventing people from contacting European citizens. Turns out it was just a big fluff. And after massive interest, everyone just said like, oh, actually, it's just business as usual once it's been in place. The reason for it is basically most of the people on our platform were contacting businesses, and there is a clause in GDPR that says legitimate interest are okay to send emails. So you say, hey, I have a legitimate interest to contact this company because they could really potentially be one of my customers. And so it was really to prevent airlines and car rentals to actually send a lot of flood the market with email to private individuals. But for business, as far as I was concerned, it was pretty much business as usual. You can see there was no interest. However, the next year was more difficult and challenging. There was, oh yeah, I love the questions. There were TensorFlow in February 2019. I remember I was in Japan, and then suddenly a lot of customers could not send emails. And that was basically the first attempt of Google to actually implement AI. So basically they were like looking at all the emails you were sending and saying like, hey, does those emails actually sound like you're contacting people you know or not? Like, are they bulk email senders? And turns out that a lot of people were. And so it was that time where you could send 1,500 emails and you were trying to reach the limit on each of the workspaces emails that you were using. Does anyone in the audience remember that time? Let me check the chat. In fact, if you could put the year when you actually started cold outreach, that'd be helpful for me as well. Yeah, 2020, COVID. 24, 2017, 2019, 2022. Okay. Oh, 2010. Nice one, Paul. I think you win on this one. I wasn't even starting in 2010. 2021, Casper, good stuff. Always remind me that people coming in late already have an understanding of where the floor is. They didn't experience the golden age before, so they don't have this romantic idea of how it was before. Anyway, so 2019, really a big thing in the world. And so one of the answers that we did at QuickMail was to actually invent inbox rotation, which enable you to send the same level of email, but from lots of different inboxes, meaning each inbox send a small level of email, meaning TensorFlow was absolutely useless for that because it couldn't compare to all the emails you were sending because you were sending so few emails. So that was good innovation. Then 2020, a lot of people started in 2020 or 2021. That's when really COVID started hitting, and a lot more traffic started to be digital, a lot more emails being sent because people were not in the same office, couldn't communicate by any other means. So a lot of emails being sent, a lot of digital solutions starting to pop up. To some extent, it was like so noisy that Gmail started to say, okay, we need to find a different way of qualifying that traffic. And they've been way more aggressive on everyone who was flagged as spam was automatically blacklisted in a sense. And so kudos to one of our competitor, Lamlist. They came up with what we call the auto warmer. They put everyone into one pool and they send, so every stranger sending emails to each other and automatically unspamming when the email was ending up in spam, basically sending the signal to Google that, hey, this email is not spam. Now, there was a couple of months where people were wondering, like, is that working really? Turns out it was really working. And it was working so well, actually, that we actually took it, we put it into, we were the first one actually to offer the free auto warmer. So we actually offered it for free and very quickly received an email from Google telling us like, okay, you can't actually keep doing that. And so we had 3 months to actually stop promoting this feature to our user if we wanted to be still officially providing Gmail API. And we wanted because the Gmail API was providing the best deliverability and QuickMail was all about deliverability. But we did like everyone else, we externalized this software to a different software. Now we have two software, we have QuickMail and we have Mailflow. Mailflow is just the same engine, we just externalize it, but you know, as far as Google is concerned, those are two different tools and they're happy. Yeah, anyway, moving on. We realized that people needed to create a lot of inboxes and manage a lot of inboxes, and it was very painful to actually monitor if an inbox is doing well or is not doing well. So we invented deliverability AI. So if one of your inbox actually goes is not performing anymore or doesn't have a good sender reputation, we will automatically swap it with the other one and put the old one into recovery. That's great, but that requires you more inboxes. So if you were using 50 inboxes in the past, you may want to double that, have 100 inbox in your pool. Those are big numbers. And for that, there are new software last year that actually started proposing things like email infrastructures, which basically will give you automatically access to Google Gmail inboxes or Microsoft inboxes or even custom SMTP inboxes. We are actually offering that next quarter. Like we are actually in beta. We became like a Google reseller. We can now actually sell the user inboxes. So if you guys are interested into that, if you don't want to set up your SPF, your DKIM, make sure you have the image setup, your custom domain tracking setup. All those things takes a lot of time when you have a lot of inboxes. So if you're interested, just write email. Right now we are in the phase in the beta phase with a few clients. So we'll reach out to you and then we'll let you know. Yeah. Last innovation last December or November, something around like that, is we released something called Reword with AI. And basically there was a growing need of all your messages needs to be really different when you're actually sending emails. And so we created Rewords with AI so that will automatically generate multiple versions of your emails instead of actually have unmaintainable spin tags, full email full of spin tags. That comes with a few caveats, so we can revisit that later. But that's basically the history. And like I mentioned, every year has its own challenges. I expect 2025 to also have a lot of challenges, and the pace of innovation is accelerating, which means diminishing return, and which means like the floor is raising even higher. Does that make sense to you? If you have any questions, just write them here, and when we'll come to the Q&A, I'll take them in order. The next thing I want to talk about is email deliverability. So email deliverability is something that's been really super important, historically speaking, at QuickMail. And then you can see we're actually doing quite a good job. This is over the last 18 months. We are using the open rate. I know the open rate is not a good metric, but the trend is. So if your open rate is tanking, there's a big problem, right? But every time we add in new innovation, it actually helps us to actually push the deliverability higher. So here around that time, I think we had the deliverability AI. Around that time, we had the reword with AI. So we keep on putting new features to actually have deliverability. But as we see, deliverability is not the full story. If you're interested in deliverability, I'm not interested in repeating like for 40 minutes the whole list. This is the whole list of technical details, what you need to do with your prospect list, what you need to do with your email content, all of that is the floor, right? So except probably reword with AI, but all of that is the floor, things you have to do anyway. I have a full video here. I'm going to send that to you. And it's a 40 minutes video. I didn't think it was that long, but there's a lot of things for people to master when it comes to deliverability. So if you have problem with deliverability, just add it here. Hold on, I'm just looking. Do I answer this question? I'll answer this question later. But if you have a question with deliverability, or if you have problems with deliverability, I say watch this video and see what you're actually currently not doing or things that you can improve. This video goes about everything I have understand. Yeah, and I put it in the chat for you to look at. Okay, so deliverability is nice. I think what I want to focus on this year with QuickMail, and especially our users, is to get them results. Like it's great to get them deliverability, but the results are not following, and there are reasons for it. And I know a lot of people are struggling with these results, and so that's why I want to spend most of my time talking about this. So how do we get results? This is the last 18 months, and we can see that across and obviously each week, there is a data point for each week, and each week we're talking like millions and millions of emails being sent. So it's not like, on a small number, but each week we can see like it hovered around 1% until really, the first quarter of 2024. That's really when it started to, and I think a lot of things is probably because of Google. They have a sort of schedule. Every February they do something bad for cold outreach. So you can expect something to happen, in the next couple of weeks or in the next few weeks. And that's why I wanted to do this webinar first. So we help, raising the floor and then figuring out like what can we do next. But it's very clear that it becomes harder and harder to get replies. We have people being bombarded in their inboxes. That's been so long since I had someone apologizing for not follow up on my follow-up, right, on my initial email. That's not happening anymore. People are understanding of what it is, and it's only going to become worse with AI. So we're gonna have to be, how can we be ahead of that? So my whole mind is, how do I actually do that? One thing before we start, what inbox are you guys using, like for your outreach? Do you use Gmail? Do you use Outlook? Do you use another one? Do you use both? Do you use everything? Okay, so we got SMTP, we got Google, we got Outlook, Gmail, everything. Yep, some SMTP, Gmail and Outlook. I like that. 50 Gmail, 50% Gmail, 50% Outlook. Yeah, seems like a lot of you are using the usual suspect. Okay, cool. I like when there is more than one. When there's only one, like Pete, for example, I see you only using SMTP. I don't like that. SMTP is a huge potential risk. So it's great and not great. You have to be careful with that. It could be working very great for 1 month and suddenly tank and your whole thing is useless. So you have to be very careful with SMTP. It could be like, it's high risk, high rewards, but it goes both ways. So you have to be careful. What we usually do is we use the two big ones, so Google and Outlook, and we sort of like alternate between those. Right? So we use the deliverability AI to sort of like, play with whichever inboxes it's using. But we basically have a backup. So if Gmail comes with some big things, we got Outlook. If Outlook comes with some big things, we got Gmail. It's always important. Last June 2024, Outlook actually put a filter before sending the emails and realized like, hey, I'm sorry, you're potentially a bulk sender. We're going to stop all your emails. And that created massive chaos for everyone who was just purely relying on Outlook. So again, I really encourage you to, if you name only one, have two as a backup at least. Okay, let's dive into actual numbers when it comes to replies. A lot of people ask me, should I use Gmail? Should I use Outlook? I always say both. First for the backup thing, but also because it fluctuates. Not always the same that wins. But I'm going to give you the answer for the last 18 months. So 18 months ago, we added the advanced stats. We got stats for longer, but the good stats, I believe, is like 18 months ago. And basically, it's about like, again, mid last year or like last quarter, second quarter last year is really when things started to go really bad for Gmail in terms of replies. And we've seen a lot of agencies really struggling lately with that, and that really hurts. That really pains me. But what did I want to say? I lost my train of thought for a second. Yeah, so it's really 0.5%, like meaning you need to send like 200 emails to get one reply on Gmail at the moment. That's where the average is, which is obviously not very good. But we have also stats for 6 months where we actually see how is that comparing to what we're actually sending. So the recipient is different. So if we're looking at here, we can see that, maybe you can see if it's a small screen, but if you see like Gmail sending to Gmail is a completely different picture than Gmail sending to Outlook. So Gmail sending to Gmail is about like 1%, and it hasn't changed much, which is crazy, right? You think like, oh, it's pretty stable week after week. But if you look at Gmail sending to Outlook, man, this is a different picture. Like we're not even like 0.5%. We're like going like not even 0.2%, like we're like 0.10%. Like you need to send like 1,000 emails to get one reply on Outlook, people from Gmail. That's pretty bad. Again, it's on average. You have to take always those things with a grain of salt because you have people that are doing like 70% reply rate. You have people doing 40% reply rate. And I'm going to come and cover those later, but that's basically it, right? On average, this is really, really bad, which means that Outlook doesn't really like most of the emails coming from Gmail. So let's have a look at Outlook. How does Outlook perform? Outlook actually is performing not too bad. It's actually performing better than Gmail. It's weird because the whole industry is aligning Gmail's best practices and so on, but at the end, like Outlook is actually almost like twice outperforming Gmail. So here the baseline is 0.5 toward the end of the year. Here is 1%, right? So it's like double, right? And that's huge when you're actually sending volumes. If we go a little bit deeper, the problem for is like most people don't use Outlook. Well, compared to Gmail, it's like a 10x almost like difference. Like if we say 1 million on emails are being sent on Gmail, there will be an equivalent of 100K on Outlook. There is quite a big difference. So the volume is lower, meaning that you can have a few big customers on your platform that could actually swing a little bit more, because bear in mind that this is still average. This is not the medium. So when you come to Outlook, trying to go to Outlook, they're not that great either. It's not really good. So Outlook, really disliked actually outreach in general. It's actually worse than actually Gmail. And if you look at Outlook to Gmail, it's actually pretty good. It's actually even better than Gmail to Gmail almost. Like, look, it's reaching like the 2%. We had a massive spike. I don't really know why, but we have a massive spike around Christmas, New Year, maybe people coming back to work. I don't know. It's only Outlook to Gmail that is actually performing super well here. But there is a case, at least there is some hint of evidence that actually Outlook is performing better than Gmail when it comes to to getting replies. Now, this is something that people don't really realize. Like I mentioned, like we talk a lot about Gmail, but if I look at all the leads, and that's millions and millions and millions, or like tens of millions of leads over QuickMail that's been uploaded into QuickMail, most of them are not coming from Gmail. It's like barely 27% on Gmail, We have like, so we could say, all right, if we could be generous and say close to a third on Gmail, close to a third on Outlook. Outlook is even more than Gmail. And then there is a massive chunk here for others. We do have some Yahoo. I presume this is business owners, brick and mortar type of businesses. And we do have some Apple, really small. Like I just put it just in case, but it's so small. And here's like a lot of everything, like custom SMTPs and stuff like that that are being hosted by companies. And so this is not the whole story. If we look at just Google to Google or Outlook to Gmail and Gmail to Outlook, this is not the full story. If we look at how Gmail is performing across to contact others, so no Microsoft, no Google, then that's about this, and Outlook is about this. So again, Outlook is also outperforming, but again, there is like a quick caveat, like careful, like it's 10 times less. Okay, just gonna take like a small pause here, see if there's anything in the chat. Quick question. Will QuickMail sell Outlook inbox? Potentially in the future. Definitely after reading those stats, I'm very interested. And again, for just the sake of having backups. But right now, we managed to find a Google reseller account. So we'll be able to only provide Google at the moment. Moving on. Okay, so I'd be curious to see, like, what do you guys get as a reply rate? So we talked about a lot about reply rates. If you guys can share, like, what's your last campaign reply rate? And I'll do the same. I'll share mine. Yep. Well, that's rough. That's rough. That's rough, guys. Leah, you're doing something good at 7%. I think you're good. You definitely master the floor at this level. Zoom in a bit. Yes, sorry about that. That's a good point. I should really have done that. Sorry about that, guys. Thanks for the comment. 6 and 10%, again, mastering 0.3%, something's wrong. There's probably something on the floor. Yep, that's not good. 375, it's always the annoying part here. Is like, do I spend more time? Do I spend more time on improving my floor, or do I actually just keep on going? But three is really hard. 3 to 5 is really hard, really. 1.75, yes, that's tough. 1.3 to 7, that's a huge range. Huge range, Rachel. Probably depends on your audience. 90%. Vito, I should unmute you, and you should actually do the the presentation for me. All right, 2%. Okay, used to be, and yeah, used to be about good numbers. So this is our last campaign. Rachel actually helped with this. We're getting like 13%, so it doesn't really sound that big, but I'm going to tell you a few things. So this is our Q4 2024 only. We were trying low volume. Actually, we sent 5 new leads a day, based on 4 inboxes, I believe. We use Gmail and Outlook inboxes, and we have absolutely zero personalization. This is actually my favorite because the whole industry is telling you more personalization, more personalization. I believe some personalization are actually hurting the reply rate when it's badly done. But we'll see a quick tip we can do to help. We were multi-channel, we were LinkedIn and email. Unfortunately, we have a higher reply rate. This is only the email reply rate, but a lot of reply actually come from LinkedIn. So it's probably close to 20%. Anyway, so I figured, like, what really is the difference between campaigns that do bad and campaigns that do well on QuickMail? And basically there's 2 buckets. There's easy campaign and the hard campaign. In easy campaign, people actually want to be contacted. That means maybe there is a candidate and a recruiter is actually contacting them about like a hot job, and they want to be contacted because they're in a hot market. I know one recruiter is here, and he basically is having trouble, but I think it's because of the niche he's in. Like it's not really a great one. Contacting business owners willing to sell, always interesting to figure out, like, hey, how much will you buy my business? People that are promoting influencer is really a good thing to contact because they're basically looking for the next product to do. So sometimes you have to think about, like, okay, what industry would actually make more sense for me to do outreach? And sometimes it's difficult, but you can do the mouse and whisker. The mouse and whisker is basically trying to act as a client. So you'll say, like, hey, what's your opening hours? Or like, are you open on Sunday? Or, those sort of things, like, what's the price? I believe those campaigns doing extremely well. You can have 70% reply rate still these days. But I believe that a lot of people are using this one just for auto warming, just to make sure they got good deliverability. And that works. Black hat technique, but it works. The hard campaigns are always people who don't want to be contacted, and we don't provide value upfront, or the action or the risk is always on the recipient. So it's a bit of a sloppiness and laziness on one end. We really need to think about like, how can we give value upfront, and what are the action, or how can I mitigate the risk from that person to reply to me? I'm going to cover that quickly after. I think we're running out of time, so I'm going to accelerate a bit. Basically, this is what people want to contact. This is, again, extracting data from QuickMail. Most people want to reach out to executive, and the least people they want to reach out to is HR, maybe because of their niche. But this is who actually respond. So most people actually, sales responding to 40%. I think it's 40% here. So sales respond to 40%. That's amazing. People really want to talk in sales. And people in finance actually don't want to talk. But executive, it's about here. So it's not really a bad deal to actually reach out to executive. Plus also, they will be the one able to actually buy or sell. So here's a framework to get more replies. I think everyone is interested into this. This is something that is very interesting to me because you basically will need to have a process in place to have good outreach. It's not good enough to wing it anymore, unless you want to say, hey, let me grab this list of customers I already have and let's send them an email. Like I did that for the webinar. I say, hey, let me get the list and then ask everyone, send them the code to enter the Zoom call and ask everyone like what will actually be helpful for you if I talk about. So those things are winging it. It's nice, but it's a one-shot campaign. Those ones are not things you can build a business on. So it's very important to think about the process here. This is the Burj Khalifa. I've been on it at the 100th floor. I've been on it. I was like, yeah, that's nice. But later on, I actually learned how it was built, and it's absolutely a marvel. It's really crazy. Most of the thing is built in a foundation. There are some absolutely crazy things. Like for the cement, it had to be absolutely one block, and they had to pour it all at once. And it was so hot, they had to melt ice cube with it in order to be able to pour it. So 24 hours pouring nonstop from all the different angles in order to make sure that you have one block. So it's really solid. There's a lot of things we don't understand about, like all the challenges they've been across it, but all we see is just this. And if you want something like this, you're going to have to build a strong foundation. So for me, the foundations are the leads. So here's the three things I want to leave you today for this webinar. The first thing is I want you to find a starving crowd. You may be reaching out to people who don't actually want to be contacted, who are not really interested in your solution. Try to find an angle to actually find your starving crowd. If you don't know about the starving crowd, I'm going to send you that. But it's basically a really great marketer that said, hey, if I can have one advantage, if we can do a hamburger shop and you can have only one advantage, which one should it be? People were saying like, oh, cheaper hamburger, or like, more people, going in front of my shop, or like, better service, better whatever, yada, yada, yada. And he said, no, the only benefit that will really make me win is to have a starving crowd, basically people who wants to eat. And if you have people who want to eat, who enter, then obviously you're going to sell burgers. So that's the same idea for cold outreach. Find the leads who are really dying for your service, right? The leads who already want to buy your service, but they don't know it yet. They don't actually search yet. The way you can do it these days, it's possible. In 2024, we've seen that volume is not the answer because it brings so much other challenges. So you don't want to be that cat trying to just blast through and then get everything. Okay, it's a cheesy feature, but I like the next one. You want to be this one. You want to be the sniper, the one who actually go after the lead that they actually want. So you want to see after your ideal customer profile. So it's not enough to now just get data from Apollo or from anywhere and then just start blasting. You will be penalized so quickly, it's not worth the effort. What you need to do instead is qualifying your leads. So I give you an example with how we do it with QuickMail. I basically AI the entire process of prospecting now into QuickMail for own leads. We may actually give that to other people if they're interested. If you're interested, put it in the chat, but it's not on my roadmap right now, but we're doing it for ourselves. So we're getting data from Apollo. Apollo is very notoriously known for having like really poor data. So what we do then is we grab the data and then we run a certain prompt on it. And so the prompt, what it will do is it will grab the website of our potential target that we want. It will generate an actual text. So it will generate a document of the text of the website, and then we will use Claude, or you could use any other tool with this prompt to make sure like easy to target audience. So for us, for example, we're only interested when we're doing outreach to sell to outbound lead generations who offer either email or LinkedIn as a lead generation service. We're not interested in inbound lead generation service or inbound agencies. So what we do, because Apollo can't really do the difference, it's so dumb. So what you do instead is you have your list of websites. You actually then ask to a software like we're using Gina. It's a bit technical, but I'll actually give you the link, guys, if you want to see it. What you do actually, you could use Gina slash r.gina.ai, you do slash, and then after that you do the name of your website, and it will automatically do a transcript. So you should see it like this. It will do a sort of like transcript of this is what your website is looking like, and then you use this transcript as an input to your to your AI software. And then you give it like the question about like, does it actually is one of my ICP? So you give the AI your ICP and you say, I would put yes, I would put no, or unsure. This is super important because otherwise it will put things it doesn't know as yes or no. And so you will think, oh, it doesn't work. No, so ask the AI only to tell you yes if they're sure, no if they don't, if they're sure they're not, or unsure they don't know, without any explanation, because you don't want to pay for the token. The output token, I just explain you why this choose yes or no. So if you do this process, you're gonna end up with super great leads that are your good ICP. You could extend on the icebreaker as well. You could basically use this thing to also say like, hey, give me an icebreaker type of thing, but I wouldn't encourage you to put it into the email beside using it as a PS, right? Because otherwise you may actually fumble, talk about like completely different things, and I may actually turn off really good leads. So bear in mind, those are your premium leads. You don't want to waste them, right? You should not, you may end up with like 40% of what you're going to scrape on Apollo. That's the first thing that is super important. Is like in 2025, you can't afford doing a spray and pray approach. You really need to be laser focused. The second thing I want you to focus on is the actual message. Now, this is the thing that we're doing. So we're actually using, we're actually using AI again. We're leveraging AI to actually figure out what should we write. So for lead generation agency, is going to change every time they have a new customer. And what you can be doing as a lead generation agency is basically grab their website, use again the same technology to grab the website into a text form, and then use the AI to tell you, hey, what are the 3 things that this website is highlighting? What is the 3 USP? What is the 3 key differentiating factor that this website is building on? And then based on that, you could use a prompt like the one we're using here that will then actually automatically create you the call outreach email for you. Okay. I'm going to give you, is everyone interested in the prompt? Okay. All right. So this is a prompt to extract. Okay, good. So this is a prompt to extract from the website. All right. And this is the prompt to extract, to create a call outreach campaign, or like the first message, right? Here it is. And then if you do that, and I think even for yourself, it's pretty interesting, run it on your own website, and it will then go ahead and then create like 3 very interesting a very interesting email that you can then use to do your call outreach, or at least use it on A/B testing. So in this case, I used it on my friend Jack. He has a lead generation agency. So you have the subject line here, lead generation agency, and then he goes through what he does, what he offers. The next one is about genuine connections. So again, there's a small text about it. And then the last one is about like no commitment. And again, that's different from most lead generation agencies. Now we have this service automatically for quick mail. We put it like a couple of weeks ago, actually. So if you go ahead and then create an account As agency, we created this optional, like this field. So if you create a new workspace and you put the domain here, it will go ahead and create an AI campaign automatically for you. Now, if you don't have access to that, that's fine. You can create a new account, or you should just use the prompt I gave you, and that's basically what we're going to go through in order to create that. It's actually pretty useful to run it on your own website, because that means that sometimes you don't really know what people infer from reading your website, or what you actually put the emphasis on without necessarily knowing it. So to me, I think it was interesting for me to create my campaign based on my website. Yeah, if you don't have, or you don't want to bother, just say, I don't know, like just write AI campaign and I'll reach out to you and generate an AI campaign for you. It doesn't cost much anyway, so that's cool. Okay. Oh, so here's the other interesting thing is, if you're using now a word with AI, you won't have spin tags anymore. And because you won't have spin tags anymore, it'll be super easy to spin multiple versions. That's why you actually focus on 3 different USP for your campaign, because then you will have like 3 meaningful variations to test. You're not going to test anymore on words. So it's not a copywriting exercise anymore. It is really about like the message you're trying to convey. And that enables you to pass through a lot of spam filters to have really different emails going out. All right, I got someone asking something. Man, what did I sign up for? Lots of people asking. I'll reach out to you guys after by emails with everything actually you need. May take a couple of days, but I'll reach out. So the one you really want to be in 2025 is the one on the right, not the one on the left. And both of them are real examples. But you see that the one on the right actually generated more replies than the one on the left. And that's crazy, given how many emails they've been sending in the last 3 months on a day-by-day basis, right? And it's possible. You just need to reframe how you're approaching things. Last thing I want to leave you in, we got a little bit more time, is a reframe. So for a lot of time at the beginning of cold email, you could send something and say something like, let me know what you think, or, some very vague CTA, but that's not the case anymore. And over the years, it became way more targeted, way more crystal clear into like, hey, once you try quick mail, jump on a call with us, it's 15 minutes, and then we'll see if you're a good fit. Nowadays, I think there is fatigue. Too many people got emails. Too many people get requests for time. So instead of selling the product, one of the good things is to sell the actual meeting. Yeah, you sell the meeting, you don't sell the product. So an example will be, can I show you how or other agencies are using QuickMail to keep clients longer, for example, right? That will be a thing that will sell the meeting and not the product, right? And if that doesn't work and you're still not getting a reply after trying to sell the meeting, then you can try to sell a video first that they can watch, and the video will then sell them the meeting. So unfortunately, we have to sort of like do one step back and ask for less commitment from the people who are reading our emails. Okay? And that should get you more replies as well, if the problem is at this stage. Here's another CTA that you can do to sell the actual video. You say, how about a 5 minutes video as a follow-up? It's brilliant. It's a sort of downsell. So you say, how about a 5 minutes video? If you're too busy or dislike calls, would that work? Right. Or you can send directly a video just saying like, hey, this is a 5 minutes video if you want to read it. Another hack, and I'll leave you with this one, is that for Gmail, if you add a YouTube video, it will automatically put the thumbnail. So you could effectively put a thumbnail that actually sell your product, or like say something like, 5 minutes to understand how X works, or 5 minutes to whatever. So people know that if they click on it, they don't have to talk to you. They don't have to send a reply and then wait for the response to come back. They can just click on it, be 3 minutes, and then make their mind about if they like it or not. Question from Dan, of course, won't link in a signature kill deliverability. Yes, but the game these days is not deliverability, it's actually replies. Like I mentioned, deliverability has been more or less cracked. And like I say, like deliverability is not a problem this year. The problem really is your messaging, not the deliverability. So find something interesting that people want to read, that's already a success. So if people want to read your email, you're already a success. If people will then want to actually go on a meeting or watch the video, it's still a success. So think about like more steps. You can't straight jump to now, hey, let's buy my product. It's this time is really over, I guess. Unless you have something so amazing that people get it straight away, right? But unfortunately, most of us are not in this position. In conclusion, I leave you with 3 things to really consider. First, make sure your deliverability is good. You got the list, so go through the list. Make sure you do most of those things. You can break 1 or 2 of those lists. That's fine, unless it's the SPF or some really important things that you have to have. Second thing is be laser focused on the right leads. You want to get your premium leads. Don't, like good is not good enough anymore. You really need to have premium leads. So we used humans in the past to qualify them, but AI is now so good you can use AI to qualify, and it's going to be faster and more accurate than human. And then the last thing is sell the meeting or sell the video if the meeting can't be sold. And that will be your next thing. Oh, and I'll drop something else as well. Say if you send a follow-up, I will also say don't necessarily include the previous email if you sell the video, because then that people will say like, oh, I've seen it already. I already made the mental decision not to go with you, so I'm just going to ignore your message. And that's it. Q&A, 2 things. You can register to my newsletter. I talked a lot about those things. That's what I like to geek about. So if you're not registered, you may want to. And yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn. I don't have do I have a LinkedIn project? Anyway, you can find me on LinkedIn. There's only one of me. Okay, so any questions? Oh, sorry, Dan. Just quickly for repeating the video. So the question is about. Okay, I just repeat what I said. You actually don't want to say include the previous email in your follow-up anymore. Send just the video in the second email saying like, hey, would you be interested in watching this video of 5 minutes? Let me just get the question in front of me. What's the deal with using subdomain? I presume you're talking about subdomain in email. Again, I'm not interested in deliverability anymore. I think we cracked it. Like deliverability is not the problem in 2025 anymore. I think it's the content of the message. If you want deliverability, follow the list, use quick mail, you're going to be sorted out. This is not a big deal. Number of new leads to start per email. I will still say that the 10 to 20 is on the high end. So start with 10 and have 2 inboxes per domain, have 2 domains, backups. 1 domain on Outlook, 1 domain on Google, 2 inbox on Google, 2 inbox on Outlook, turn on deliverability AI, rock and roll. That's basically how I would do it. Auto-warmer, I'm not sure that works anymore. So I have to revisit that. This is a great question, and that's something on my mind and list of things to do. I'm not sure it works anymore, or at least as good as it used to. But again, I don't have problems with deliverability with my inboxes. So I'm not really spending a lot of time on this at the moment. And like I said, most people don't have problems with deliverability at this stage. When are the Google inboxes being released? What are the price per inbox? Between you and me, Andre, is going to be $3 per inbox. We're going to use what is called developing country pricing. So you should have it for like $3 per month per inbox, and we'll automate everything. That's the idea. We have the prototype here. And it's pretty fun. Again, everyone who said think email in a chat, I will reach out to them and just let them know before we put it official to everyone. Is it best to send emails with open and link tracking off? Yes, but and see, you could also do it with the thing I do is basically I turn it off on the first email, I turn it on the follow-up. So that way that doesn't impact my deliverability on the first email, and I still get the data when I actually follow up. And if they reply in between, then that's fine. I don't need to know the deliverability number. Was great. Thanks. 3 questions. Oh, someone's trying to start with flattery in order to get more question answers. I like that. Okay, for my client, I want to sell QuickMail. It's not quickmail.io, by the way, anymore. It's quickmail.com. Painful renaming on our side, by the way. For my clients, I want to sell quickmail.io. How does quickmail compare to, say, MailChimp? Well, or Constant Contact. They're definitely not in the same market. MailChimp and Constant Contact can't do outreach. They will be marketing automation for your newsletter. Nothing to do with quickmail. Can you recommend any freelancer or company that can help with email marketing tactically? Sadly not. This is a question I often have, but I have such a high level standard of execution that it's really hard for me to recommend people. It's one of my flaws or weaknesses in a sense. Did you say Apollo is known for that data? Fuck yes, it's terrible data. Is this true? Yes, it is. Any other company to recommend? Sadly not. I think the market's really, it's pretty much everyone rebuying the same data and reselling the data. So I didn't find anyone that is actually good for data. Where can I learn more about how the LinkedIn integration functionality works with Quickmail? Just contact support or look at help.quickmail.com. Damn it. I think help.quickmail.com. Type LinkedIn, and then you'll see it's all automated in LinkedIn, so it will actually work. It's not like, hey, this is a manual step that you need to do something in LinkedIn. Thanks for the thumbs up, Andre. I appreciate you being here. How is the AI message rework better than Spintax? It does. It does. To my surprise, it actually does. So we tried it as a. Hello, I can't scroll up. What the hell? My Notion. Come on, Notion. Okay, let me try it back again. Okay. To my surprise, it works very well. Here's some example if you want to read them. But basically, this is something that we have like a template and it sends it automatically. We just ask the AI to read this email and just reword it carefully with keeping the same ideas and stuff like that. And basically, you just end up with pretty much the same. So you don't have to do spin syntax X and Y and control all the versions. And you actually spin up more versions because there is more randomness doing this way than actually just using Spintax. And then Spintax is completely impossible to manage. Like, this is really terrible. And in Quickmail, it's just like a tick box. You tick it, and then it just will automatically use reword for every message that goes out. That's how we do it, Werner. Is this 100% good to send? Yes, use it to send. But if you worry, I think you have the ability to save it as a draft, and then it will end up in your opportunity for you to verify before sending or modify before sending. I wouldn't do that. It's such a waste of time otherwise. Okay, I found Apollo to be pretty good actually. That's good stuff. Then it could work for some industries, or when your targeting is way too lax. Meaning like, hey, you just want like people, companies between this and this doing X and Y and doing this. For me, this is not targeting. This is just like running the world. Can we sort track prospect in Quickmail by their email provider? Yes, we can actually. We just added that like a couple of months ago, or maybe last month. We added like a small little filter for provider. So you could effectively sort by provider in Quickmail. When you 2 inbox per domain, yes. Are you saying gmail.com or custom through Google? I'm not quite sure what it means. I'm not sure what it means, Teresa. If you can rephrase it, I'll be happy to answer it. What are the best data side you recommend? Like I say, I didn't use enough to actually recommend it. I know ZoomInfo is different from Apollo. I haven't used ZoomInfo. I just feel ZoomInfo is better. I don't know how much better. I haven't used it myself for my use case. So again, I don't speak about things I don't know, so I'm not going to speak about that. Sorry. Do you need a paid account to really use LinkedIn well? Yes, you need a premium, most likely. I noticed we only had about 18 LinkedIn outreach opportunity a day with our current setup. Yes, you would need most likely premium. I think otherwise you're too easily getting, you may get blocked very easily with this. So I will tend to not do that. You're also limited in the number of characters you can use for sending connection requests and stuff like that. Overall, I think if you have a premium account, you won't have problems. The other ones, yeah, but depends how scrappy you want to be. And in sense of making the LinkedIn logic more robust, yes. In what sense? Connecting, then do this, then do that. Yes, we need to put back at some point conditional things into things. Right now, you can stop until you're connected, and if you're not connected, effectively nothing happens. Yeah, good call, Dan. That's something we need to do at some point. It's not on the roadmap. I got other priorities at the moment. Can you explain a bit about why the spin tax is so important in 2285? Well, that's pretty easy, Corey. It's like nowadays you have a spam filter not only on recipient, but also at the sending. And at the sending, when you're actually sending, it will go through that spam filter that will check basically what you're sending. And if you're sending again, like too many times the same message, it will block you straight away. So you will be very quickly blocked if you're actually not using spin tax or reward with AI. So it's not really about the recipients. You're mentioning about like at the same company. No, it's just like basically what you're sending. Hope that makes sense. What are your daily sending max per inbox? My one, like I said, I contact 10 or 20, depending, 10 to 20 new leads, and I have only one follow-up, and then the rest of it is multi-channel. Are you using plain text? No, I'm not, because again, I don't have problems with deliverability, so I don't really care. Are you forwarding the email domain to your main domain? Absolutely not. I do all my replies into the opportunity. That's good enough now, and we can have someone else doing the replies for me. So I don't need to be involved, and yet, I'm the one having a conversation. What do you suggest to use for the in-email? This is an email signature. This is a great question, Casper, because I think not enough attention is spent on the signature. The signature is really important. That's basically the last thing people see. And if you have some PS that makes you human, you could do about something, anything else than your actual text. So you could, for example, send me an email saying like, hey, Jeremy, we're trying to sell you, I don't know, like super high quality leads, whatever. And then PS at the end is like, hey, kudos for your marathon. I'm trying to do one also this year. That's great because it has nothing to do, and that's okay in a PS. If you do it at the intro, that's always awkward. You start with like, hey, someone having fun with writing. I don't know who could do that. Anyway, because it starts with, hey, I'm trying to do a marathon, and I'm like, who the hell is this person? Like, why are they contacting me? And then suddenly they go into business. I'm like, okay, that's fake. So PS, super underrated. Yeah, good to have you, Rachel. Sorry, you're probably gone. Do you have any idea on the correlation of email readability with response rate? We did that actually. Is readability actually based on proper English? No. Conversational email, something else. It's done actually. It's an algorithm that actually say how easy is it to read. So it's basically alternation of vowels versus consonants, whatever. Like it's an algorithm that is well known and well used. And there is a correlation. If you go above 70, you have 70%, you have way more chances of getting a reply. Is it worth optimizing for readability score providing within quick mail? Yes, but I would say only use it as an indicator as to one of the many things you want to improve if you're not getting, if you're not getting replies. This one will be for optimizing replies, necessarily deliverability. Do you use Google Workspace for each of the domain or 1x Google Workspace for all the domains? Yeah, that's the never-ending question. Do Google actually link accounts based on credit cards? I don't know. I have 2 Google Workspace, and for me, that's enough at my size, and I don't have enough data to figure out for the other people because I don't have access to their domain. What I know is for a solution for the Google reseller, what we're going to do is we're actually going to create you a new account for every new domain you create. So you could have 3 domains, and then we're going to create 3 accounts on your behalf. So if you want 2 emails per domain, we're going to have like 3 workspaces for you and 2 inboxes in each of them. Reward AI is adjusted to work on any language. Well, strangely, yes. I think we're using OpenAI. I think we are. Yes, we're using OpenAI for rewording, and so it actually works with multiple languages. Someone is using it in Spanish at the moment. So that's pretty fun to watch. I wouldn't be able to do that. We work with AI, but Cloud API, no, Open API. But we're using, I'm not sure. Yeah, we're using it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're using OpenAI for the reward. Do you recommend using a warm-up tool like Mailry or whatever at the time as sending? If you're using a warm-up tool and it works, I would say keep it on, Martin. Like keep it on while you're also sending a campaign. I don't have anymore but it could be okay. So here's my recommendation for that. I'd say you could try to turn it off when you're actually starting your campaign, your proper campaign, but then look at the deliverability per inbox. If you see that there's too many switches and then your inbox getting switched by deliverability AI, then I will definitely just put it back on. But Personally, I wouldn't turn it off unless there is a problem. So you could do it the other way around. Leave it on, and if that causes a problem, then change auto warmer. You're welcome, John. I always appreciate having people here. Mike, I use conditions to stop subsequent follow-up in an email when not open. When will it be available in the new UI? Yes, it's available in the old UI, Mike. I'm sorry about that. We have the thing. It's just never become a priority because open rate is so unreliable that you don't necessarily want to base your judgment on it. I would understand for clicks, but for open tracking, it's a bit harder. So this is not on a priority for me, and you can still do it on the old UI until we deprecate the old UI. Okay. So Teresa, you're saying like you could use like TJ add something and then Teresa add something. Works perfectly fine. That's totally cool. Like we have like I have Jeremy.Chatelain, I have G Chatelain, I have Jeremy add. So like you could use multiple variations. That's no problem at all. Just make sure that when you do those things, actually send yourself an email test because sometimes it will come back and it will have the name your name as being the email address. It's because it's badly configured and it looks so bad every time I still see that. Mostly because of the infrastructure email. Sometimes they don't actually fix that. Okay, Peter, for email versus Outlook performance stats, is there a lot of questions still? Shit, there's a lot. Okay, I'm gonna go faster then. Gmail versus Outlook performance stats. Was that in terms of deliverability or reply rate? Only looked at reply rates. I'm not interested in deliverability anymore because deliverability overall worked great. So I'm looking in the real metrics, which is how many replies do you actually get. And like I say, open rate is an unreliable metrics. It's great in terms of trend, but it's not good in terms of comparing the numbers. For inbox rotation, do you recommend using multiple emails for the same domains? Yes, up to 2. Yes, quick mail created Mayflow. Check it out, super easy. Oh, that's someone else. Thank you. Appreciate. The PS for the personalization were worth the whole webinar. I appreciate, Corey. Definitely a great tip. Mind repeating yourself on best practice for setting up email inboxes? 2 email per address on Gmail. Yes, that's correct. 2 email address on Outlook. Was there something else? No, that's fine. Just create one domain. One domain should have 2 inboxes, and ideally one domain, one provider. So it'd be like one domain on Gmail with 2 inboxes, one domain on Outlook with 2 inboxes, basically. And then you can have as many domain as you want. And if you want to test like a custom SMTP, do your third domain on it. Is there a reward option that is just a setting in quick mail? Yes, it's a click. It's literally a click. Yeah, this is a setting on email in campaigns. Yes, exactly. Thanks, Neil. Appreciate. What's the benefit? What's the benefit of using Outlook inboxes if Outlook inboxes keep getting disabled and we have to warm up for 2 weeks and take them out of rotation? Like I say, it's pros and cons. There's no one that is like, it's not like what is it? Damn it, the Lord of the Ring. It's not like Lord of the Ring. There's no ring to rule them all. You're gonna have to have them all. That's annoying. Are there any best practice regarding embedding videos? Actually, no. That's a funny one. We don't have any best practice, but I do love it. So I love adding Loom video. That's pretty good. You also see when people are reading it, are watching it. So that's really great when you're starting to have like really high value leads. And the YouTube stuff, I always add it in a PS. It does look so spammy otherwise, but experiment, try. Maybe your audience will react differently. From a deliverability standpoint, I didn't notice really big problems. So I think if you have one link, you'll be fine. Is that outbound spam check only? Is that outbound spam checked only on Google and Outlook? I'm not sure what it means, Paul. Maybe you want to rephrase it. If you're talking about getting replies, we check any spam as well when we're getting a reply, but it's probably not your question. So Dan, talking about Mayflow, if he has 50 emails, I was sending 0 emails. So I have 1 minute, 2. Just contact support. That's not really the point of this webinar. Another question or tips for everyone here. I've been using QuickMail for the past 4 years. Thank you, Werner. Appreciate. Recently tried 3 other again, and they're not nearly as good. Well, I try my best to stay up to date on the market. Plus, I love doing that, so that's great. The marketing and LinkedIn game is great, but the product sucks. Yeah, I think one of the things this year is I really want to help, level up the marketing a bit for QuickMail because not enough people know the rate study. Do you have any recommendation for DKIM policy? I'd say reject. Don't. There's no reason for not rejecting. So DKIM, my one is on reject. I have no problem with that. Did you see my question on the overwhelmer? Yes, contact support. And I think that's it. That's a wrap. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate you being here. If you have any more questions, do not hesitate. I'll be capturing the chat and reaching out to everyone who mentioned that. Oh dear, the ISO is so bad. I need to change the ISO quickly. There we go. All right. Thank you, everyone, and have a fantastic day. I appreciate you all being here.